Welcome to Cooking with Miss O. Let's join Mary Beth Oxendine in the kitchen as she teaches you how to cook Southern style healthy.
Welcome to Cooking with Miss O. I have a special friend that has come, and some of her friends and one of my friends that are going to come on at the end, and we are going to be making Southern caviar. So we hope y'all are going to like that. And sometimes some people call it Southern redneck caviar, but I'm doing Southern caviar. Same recipe though. I just like the sound better. So my friend is here, and this is the first time I've met this friend, but this has been my friend now for 9 years. I was given her book at a homeschooling thing in Clemson that I was speaking at, and I brought it home and I read it, and then I lost it in my house. And then Tom died in 2007, and about 2 weeks after he died, I knew I needed help. I knew I needed the Bible, and I needed to find that book. And so I went through everything and finally found it, and then I called her on the telephone because, as many of you know, I'm not good with the computer. And so she has been so gracious and brought two of her best friends with her to come here. When I called her last week, it took me 3 years to get my courage up to call her. But this woman is who helped me continue with my Savior, because I didn't know if I could go on without Tom. Tom was a type A, and any of you that know him know that. I'm a type F, fun and frazzled. And so he would say that it's time to go to bed. And he set the time we got up, and he scheduled everything, and I just followed what he said. And because I'm a second-born child, so I was used to being told what to do, and I loved it.
I'm the firstborn, so we're good.
Yeah, we're going to do good, aren't we? So this is Marla Siley, but I call Silly.
Silly.
Marley Silly, sorry. I call her FlyLady, so I've been having to practice on her name because I never called her that. I've always
You can call me FlyLady. That's okay.
I'll answer. Okay? And she is wonderful. And let me show you my book later, but we're going to show you the new one because mine is a different cover. It is called Sink Reflections, y'all. And tell them why you're called FlyLady.
Well, I moved to North Carolina in 1994. I've been there 20 years, going on 21 now. And I moved there to fly fish. Fly fish is what I did for a while. That's how I got my nickname, FlyLady.
Exactly.
And if you look real close at the FlyLady, you will see she has a fly rod in her hand.
Yes, and I didn't know that at first, and then I asked him, I said, what is this? And he said, it looks like a fishing rod. And so then I found out after reading more about you. She is online. She has just swept the United States with her...
The world.
The world now, too.
We're in 92 countries.
Are you really?
Yes.
So tell people a little bit about what FlyLady is and what FlyLady does.
I'm bossy. That's just how it works out. I'm a firstborn, so I was the one telling all my little sisters what to do.
Oh,
so,
I didn't realize that.
When I got married to my sweet darling Robert, my grandmother told him, you know, she's really bossy. But I didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up until I turned 43 in 1999. And that's when my mission to minister to women around the world, and it's mainly women, 99.9% women, to help them get rid of the clutter and the chaos. And the chaos stands for can't have anyone over syndrome. Do you resemble that? Yep, I thought so.
I just want to tell y'all that I've admitted so much on this show, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm a mess. And Tom was not a mess. So I knew I was really in trouble when he died. And I just couldn't even go to bed. I stayed up half the night those first 2 weeks. And when I went on to FlyLady, somebody had told me, I think it was Kathy Shirley, my good friend that's here today too, and told me I could go on. So my daughter got it online for me, and when she went babysitting, I would go in there. And the first thing that helped me the most was at 10 o'clock, about a few minutes before 10, on the website it says, "Fly babies, it's time to go to bed." So I obeyed her. I was so used to obeying Tom that I just went ahead and obeyed what they said on there. And then she has a morning routine and an evening routine. And in the morning routine, when you get up, she tells you exactly what to do. And I needed that because I didn't have a schedule anymore. And anybody who has lost a spouse, the hardest thing is we have no schedule anymore because I got up to cook for him so he could go to work and the kids. And my kids then were in college. And so I was really lost. And I really just didn't know what to do. And so reading this book and doing each chapter, and I obviously missed a chapter somewhere, because in there I found out today and last night when I was going over some stuff that in that chapter, later on, it's about being on time. I don't ever remember seeing that chapter, but I'm sure the studio would like it if I'd read that chapter now.
Well, I was running late, so you're forgiven.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to tell y'all that I have, my house is totally, I've gone through her book and done it. I have my FlyLady timer. My son gave it to me for my birthday. And this is the new updated one. Mm-hmm. Mine has been so used, but what I do is I do 15 minutes, and they've got the 15 minutes on here. And sometimes if I'm in a rush, I'll do 8 minutes. And but it helps me. I don't have to think. If, as a teacher, I would probably have been ADD. I'm just all over the place. You know, I can stop for anything, and it can distract me. But this keeps me on track, and then I know what I'm supposed to do. And so I really love this a lot. She has other books. The other thing I have from her is her duster. There is no better duster. I always had a hard time getting things dusted because you'd have to take out all the stuff and the claws, and I just need things real simple. My husband was an economist, he taught economics at Easley High School for 33 and a half years. And so I knew we had to be frugal because he let me quit teaching to stay home. But what I want to tell you is that when Marie was so sick, if I'd had FlyLady, all my friends who had babies the same time as Marie, they were doing real cute little albums and books and doing all these things with their pictures and all, and I was cleaning up throw up. And I was up all night with my husband, and we were going to doctors. In her first year of life, we went to 100 doctors that year. Wow. We had 100 doctor appointments. It was, you know, some of them the same doctor, but we saw so many doctors until we got to Emory. And so I was sometimes sad because I wanted to be doing the fun things with my little girl and my son that other moms were, and I couldn't. And I know that some people that are watching the show have handicapped children, and they have sick children. And so this is another reason why this year, I've started this year with these shows, showing that there are a lot of ways that we can get a handle on stuff. We can eat simply, especially if you're having financial problems, and I've shown you how you can do meals for $50 a week for 4 people in a family, and sometimes it can stretch to 5. I've also shown them that, you know, God, everybody has troubles and struggles, not just some of us. We think that it's just us. Well, it's not just us. Everybody does. Every household does. But her book and her timer and her duster have helped me tremendously, because now I can have the home that I've wanted, you know. And I want you to let me, if you don't mind, in this book, I want to read you a little excerpt. It's in the very beginning, and this is my goal.
Those are mine.
Those are yours. Sorry. Okay, here we go. This is my favorite part. This is the very beginning of the book, everybody. Dear FlyLady, wanted to let you know about the wonderful B&B, bed and breakfast, my husband and I stayed at this Memorial Day weekend. The small but simply furnished kitchen was well stocked with delicious, healthy snacks and meals. Homemade waffles and blackberries were served from a beautiful, clean kitchen. The living areas and bedrooms were furnished with fresh, plumped pillows, lovely matching sheets and down comforters, and scented candles everywhere. The bathroom, bubble bath, lotions, and fresh white towels. The library was stocked with books, magazines, and videos. Best of all, my husband and I spent time together with no interruptions, chores, or traffic. Okay, you guessed it. Thanks to you, Marla. This is my home. Thank you, Laura from California.
Well, this is the part you failed to read. This book is dedicated to you who have suffered in silence, thinking you were the only one in the world who lived in chaos.
On the way over here, I was listening to Focus on the Family, and they had somebody on there whose husband has Lou Gehrig's disease. And he's into it for 3 years, and she was talking about how hard it is. It's hard when you have chaos because you can't keep up with the laundry. You can't keep up with anything, and you're trying to just make life happen every day. But I have learned that with less things, so that gives you more money in your pocket, less things. And I always felt guilty because I was the only one that still lived in the States. So when my mom died, my grandmother died, all that stuff came to me. Everybody came and took what they wanted, and then I was stuck with all the rest. But I felt guilty for getting rid of it. Well, I don't feel guilty anymore. We will be right back. Thank you. We're back, and I want to tell you my verse, and then Marla has her verse too. Mine is Romans 15, verse 13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Now, would you say yours?
Now, my verse is Hebrews 11:1, and I like this verse because my numbers are 111 because I was born January the 11th. So Hebrews 11:1 is, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
Isn't that wonderful? We were talking about this because what Marlo does to people, she gives us hope. She lets us know that we can still have that bed and breakfast house that we want, that we can still have those wonderful times with our kids. And even though life sometimes takes us on a different avenue than we planned, he can still do that. And you've had tragedy in your life, we've had tragedy in ours, but still, you're teaching us how to have hope. So I have to tell you that the two books that are on my nightstand is her Sync Reflections and my Bible. And I do the night thing at night. Let's open that up while you're doing that while I'm talking. Now, I also use her CD, and I play that in the morning. I have it on my CD player, and I play it as I'm getting my whole schedule and stuff here done. And that's it.
It's now a digital download for those who are in iTunes or on our website. You can download it from our website too.
You can? Oh, that's
yes.
wonderful. And then you can buy the books from your website too,
yes.
right? Because I've bought all my stuff through there. And I just put my timer on, and I've gotten to where it used to take me about 20 minutes in a room to get straight for the morning. And now it takes me less than 8 to have everything straight. It takes me about 20 minutes to be dressed and out of my room. And it's wonderful. I mean, it's cut everything back, and it's so easy. So, because the hardest thing when I became a widow, Marla, was going to sleep and getting up and getting dressed. I didn't want to get dressed. And you talk about that in the book.
You have to get up and get dressed and put on your lace-up
Tennis shoes.
Yes.
I have 2 sets of lace-up shoes so that I can interchange them. But I put on my shoes.
And we are from the South, and we will kick those shoes off because we're barefoot girls.
I am a barefoot girl.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have to
yes.
tie those things
yes.
to our feet.
Yes. And we have to be ready to walk out the door before we walk out of our bedroom.
At a moment's notice.
And our beds are made. I have a dear friend, and she's so funny. And Kathy, I'm going to tell a story on you because she's going to be here to eat with us. But she would pull her bed up, and before she even got out of the bed, and pull the sheets and stuff up like that.
Way.
You do?
Yeah, I teach how to make snow angels in your bed to make your bed up. So make snow angel in your bed, pull it up to your chinny chin, and then slide out the side.
I never could get that.
And then hurry up and get to the bathroom because we really have to go.
Yes, right. So what we want to tell you is I do my devotions in the morning. I get up early and do that because time gets busy. So right now, this year, I've started in Matthew, and I'm going to read the New Testament. And if you'd hand me that little flip thing there, and then when God asked God to give me a verse every morning, and I write up this, I filled up so many of these. And then I can sit it on my windowsill, and I have my verse for the day, so I can look at it all the time and during the day and say it over and over. That's how I can memorize, if I repeat it over and over, if I read it over and over. And then if I have a day where I didn't really get a verse, then I go back to one in my flip chart. So on my kitchen sink, Marla, I always have a verse on my kitchen windowsill. So
I have a friend who posts one every night as he's reading his evening verses.
Really?
It's my nephew's wrestling coach.
Oh, really?
And he posts this verse, and for the whole world to see what verse touched him.
Oh, wow.
And I know that that's my cue to go to bed.
I had a Mary Kay girl come to my house to do a little show. It turned out nobody showed up, and I always had big shows. And it was so funny, but a tragedy had happened in the Clemson area, a wreck that had killed somebody, and she had been friends with this girl. And so I had a verse on my flip chart up on the window, and I knew she was coming anyway. And so we went ahead, and she was just getting started, and she went to wash her hands, and my verse on the windowsill, she accepted the Lord within the next week. Is that not something? I know. So we don't understand when we have verses and we have our Bible I need my Bible for me to get through the day. You know, Christ now, in Psalm 68, one of my favorites, is He is the husband to the widow and the father to the fatherless, and He sets the lonely in families. So I'm so blessed that even though Tom is in heaven, Christ didn't just leave me. He is with me all the time. So this I take everywhere with me, and in my bedroom, both of these two books are there. So I start my day with you, I finish my day with you. I start my day with Christ, I finish my day with Christ.
It's that hour of power.
Isn't it though? Isn't it?
Yes.
And if you miss that, you're kind of off sync the rest of the day, I found out. So if I have to get up at 5 to be able to do it, you know, getting ready for the show, I was up at 3. So you start it with the Lord.
I've been awake since 4.
So we're going to sit down as soon as it's over. Now, I want to teach you how to make, and this is wonderful for barbecues and everything, but I did all of my signature dishes because there are things that I keep in my pantry all the time, so when I know somebody's coming, I can do it immediately. So brownies, and I'm going to do a little spin on my homemade brownies that I make with my whole wheat flour, fresh ground, and I made those this morning. And then my pimento cheese, and I try to keep my pimento cheese made up because people stop by and say, Mary, you got any pimento cheese and bread? And I keep my bread made up. And so I want to show you this recipe because you can use it with chips and dip, or you can toast my bread into little triangles, butter it a little bit, and then toast it, and you can use it to dip in this dip too.
I'm hungry already.
Now, how about you help me? Okay. I'll hand you the can. They've already been drained. We cooked these. These were frozen. These are black-eyed peas, and I got them from Pick Sweet, and they're wonderful instead of the canned. And so we have already cooked those in dries.
I used to can my own. I canned purple whole peas.
Purple whole.
I grew up with those. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
I love them, don't you? I bet you could do that same thing with this. And then we're going to dump organic.
Spoon.
It's by Ingles. They're Harvest Home stuff. And we're going to stir in a minute, the black beans by Harvest Organics, and we have the one sitting out right there. And then we're doing Rotel, do mild. The original makes it extremely hot. Unless you like real hot. Now, we did not drain
it. Don't
Oh,
drain
wait a minute. I'm thinking, does it say on my recipe to drain it? I think it does.
You're going to hand it here. I'll go
So
drain.
just go ahead and drain these, and I'll chop the onion while you do that. So, and I've got this whole red onion. I found a red onion that was made in the USA, grown in the USA already, and here we are in the middle of winter, so I was tickled. Ingles is great about that. Marla, my Ingles store, they have my organics that I love, but they also have local American grown vegetables all the time.
Yay!
I love them. Now, Marla, if you don't mind stirring, please. And then we're going to go ahead and pour all of that dressing. This is my mother's. This is what I got when my mother passed away. This was the salad dressing jar that she made all our homemade salad dressing.
Oh, how precious.
So if you don't mind doing this, okay?
You held on to whereas you were decluttering some of those things, you held on to the things
You
that
said
meant
to
something.
do that. You
Yes.
said, say what you said because it was wonderful.
You can't organize clutter, and when you have people pass in your life, everything kind of comes to your way.
It does, doesn't it? And so I've picked out my favorites, and I have either given away or sold, whatever. Now let me tell you, because of Marla, I love Talbots because I'm little. Now this is a bell pepper. It's a green bell pepper. These were USA at Ingles too, and this is unusual to have these this soon. And we're going to do a half. I'm going to just what I do, and I'll just 2 sides like this, and that is all. And we're going to cut this up. And but now, Marla, they have a high-end clothing store, and I have lost. I've gone down 4 sizes and come back up 4 sizes since Tom died, so I'm back to where I was, and a little bit heftier. So I'm glad for that because I've always been real thin, and my sisters, everybody teased me about it, and I was always trying to gain weight, but some people just don't, you know.
When my grandmother went through the death of 2 husbands, and a son, she always lost weight.
Yeah.
Because of it.
I think that's pretty typical. You struggle to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You really do. And I want to tell you too, if you are a new widow, I just had a new widow call me from the Christian bookstore in Easley yesterday. Let's go ahead and put that in, please. And she said she was just a year last weekend, And so I told her, I said, nobody told me this because I didn't know any widows and until February after he died. And then Dot from Rock Springs, she's a precious lady, and she called me. But and I asked her this question, and nobody told me that heaviness that you have in your chest goes away. And it does go away. So if you're a new widow, that heaviness you have in your chest, it's not going to last forever. We're going to a commercial break. Thank you so much. Welcome back, y'all. Marla and I are going to try our Southern Caviar. And this is
stirred.
The chips we're using, they have lime in them. Here we go. Yeah, let's see how it is.
Oh, Mom.
That's delicious, isn't it? And with those chips are good, isn't it?
I like the lime.
Now, give your suggestion.
Well, you could do some lime on top of this or in your dressing.
You really could.
Yeah, and then before you start cooking, to keep your kitchen from blowing up while you're cooking, start with a sink full of hot soapy water. And then you just drop everything in it, and by the time you get through putting the dish together, your dishes are practically clean.
That's true. That is a wonderful tip. Thanks for saying that. I appreciate that. And she's right. Now we want to say thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.